Jumping in, AI is all of the rage right now. It's disrupting. I think there's not an industry currently that it's not disrupting in some form or fashion, some maybe more than others, but we're seeing a lot of talk about AI in the food and beverage space, particularly around formulation. Um, so, just in your opinion, what are the risks of using AI to formulate nutritional or even bakery blends?
It's a good question. So AI is able to do an amazing amount of research in a very quick period. However, it's only as smart as the information that it's fed. So there's a lot of information out there, and some of it's outdated or even flat out wrong. An example is a customer that asked me for a list of information recently, and I quickly typed it in an AI chat bot. And in the meantime, asked that customer a question. Unprovoked, that customer came back and said he had asked an AI and what it had told him was wrong. I then manually started looking for information. I found out websites that could say ABC, but another one that would say A15. So contradictory information out there. And in the end, I ended up sharing that I could not find a good answer to his questions. So one of the challenges I've seen with AI is that it can make things up and it can normally come back with a response, but it assumes that it's right, and it may or may not be right, and it may not be coming from credible sources. It may very well be so, but you can't be sure without doing a lot of fact checking on it. So there's a lot of factors when doing a blend, including things like cost, solubility, appearance, bioavailability. AI might be able to access some of that information, but it won't know things that are a challenge for analytics. How does non-GMO project work? Will I get that in organic? Can I even find that material? Can I get non-GMO riboflavin? Why or why not? Will this be a challenge to vegan? How does regulatory work? So knowing the right questions to ask and even what order to ask them is a big part of this. And AI is just as smart as what you ask it. But if you don't ask the right poignant question, it may not get you the right information.
Or maybe the next big, great thing in food or beverage that AI could be used in ideation when it comes to formulating new formulas? Or again, do you think, as you said, it's only as smart as the data that you put into it? So maybe it's missing that creative piece on the formulation side.
It is missing a creative piece, but I think if you were to want a generic starting point, it's excellent for that. I mean, same thing with going in a store and picking up a product that you might be interested in that has whatever components similar to what you're looking for. It's a good discussion point to start. So I don't differ with that. And that is a point at which I do use AI, is if I've been just looking for, say, a men's multivitamin formula, I could ask the AI that and it'll give me information back. But from there, I'm going to kind of fact check things and make sure that it makes sense for what I'm looking for.
So with that being said, are there limitations in current AI technology that might affect the safety or efficacy of formulations for nutritional blends?
Yeah, good question. AI will do a good job at guessing and stringing together trends or keyword hits. And if it gets down to the details, that's where you're going to start to run into some issues like, is this allowed in food? Is this allowed in dietary supplements? And again, it could give you bad information. So it's being able to know when to ask questions and what to ask. Like if you want this in pet food, is it allowed in pet food? What's the lead time on a product? Are companies selling it ethically? Is there a cost implication with using one versus another? So there's a lot of factors that can come into play. And in pretty much every market segment, there's different pieces that you have to ask, and that makes sense to look at. Life experience is one of the things that AI can't replicate. So one of the things we've done with REPCO is, because we've been down this path before, is we have a list of questions to be able to ask and make sure that we're seeking to understand on what the deliverable is, the direction that you're headed. And by asking those questions, we can make the best use of your time, your resource, and be able to get you to the right answer more quickly and have a lot less kind of start, stop, or dead end type of conversations that you could have avoided if you would have known to ask a certain question at the right time. So our people know how to look at those complexities and deal with those things that you may not even know that you should be looking at.
Are you using AI in any of your processes today?
So yes, but I treat AI like a web search. And in essence, if you used Google, whatever, 5 years ago, it's kind of the same thing. This has just been a packaged treatment around it on what AI is. it can give you information, and I do use it as an input, perhaps a starting point for a formulation. If someone wants something like a men's multivitamin blend, I ask it what it thinks would be a balanced blend. However, I use that as a starting point in a list, and I want to make sure that it's correct. And from there, I may add additional things. I may take things out of there. I may look at things that are in there and realize that cost is your driver, and it's recommending a very high cost item. So I might take that out and put in a lesser cost item. So it's a good starting point, and I do use it for that, but it isn't the end all be all.
Well, I imagine most companies are keeping their formulation very close to the chest and not sharing those with AI just in case there's any kind of risk of that data getting out and becoming public information. But we know that AI learns based on the data that you put into it, and it's getting better and more precise every day. In what ways do you see AI complementing or potentially even challenging conventional formulation practices?
So AI has its place, and it's becoming better and smarter as time goes on. And the thing that it is limited by is the information that it's given. So if there's more chatter out there or more incorrect information, it can also lead to less accurate feedback from it. So that's something to be aware of when one's looking at an AI type of response. But in a formulation role, I think it will become more intelligent and able to find more interlinking pieces. And potentially, if someone does let it have access to their inside information with pricing and availability, different vendors, that sort of thing, it potentially could mine that info. Right now, I don't think the AI bots have the chance to be able to do that. But until it has access to that information, it's limited by what it can find in public space. And so that's going to be a challenge until one can get through that. But when there's good tools in place, I think it will give information. But there are still some pieces, if you look at baking, where there's measures that even today we don't have good tools to be able to take the place of a baker's hands or a flour miller's hands. And it's best to look at a human touch type of piece. There may be tools that come out in the future. Those could be integrated with AI too. But I think these are going to kind of synergize as things move forward. And when new tools come out, it may fill in such gaps. And AI may have good inputs to fill that in. But until that time, it may be beyond the limits of the inputs that it has available. And we still have to depend on the human pieces of that. So I do think it will be more and more complementary, but it just depends how other pieces come into play or not on it.
No, I agree with you 100%. I don't think that AI will ever replace the human touch. I think you're always going to need that reasoning and creativity. I think AI will help eliminate some of the low value admin tasks, allowing us to do higher level, more strategic, creative work. Are there any emerging trends or technologies within AI that you believe will be a significant impact to the industry?
I think that there are companies trying to push the boundaries of what AI can do and what it does today. I don't think it'll be really even a starting block when one looks back 10 years from now. One company I read on is trying to make AI work faster and better to give market implementation and give companies a head start on developing new products. In those sorts of pieces, I think it can give a good starting point with it. And I do commend those companies for trying to find new ways of utilizing this technology. And the biggest challenge I see right now is these are early stage. They're in fundraising. How far they get, what limitations they hit will just kind of depend on what life leads them. I don't know what type of variables they will or won't be able to overcome, but I commend them trying to do that. There's a list of items they may be able to fill in. We'll have to see how that information gap closes. But I do think that the tools that people are coming up with are innovative and they may be able to help us in the future.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see how AI shapes different roles and different tasks within our industry, specifically around ingredients and formulation, and how the food and beverage companies adapt and take on that technology. So I think quickly within the next year to 3 years, we'll see a huge shift in the way that AI is adopted within these businesses.
I agree.